This is St. Louis Cardinals baseball. Spring training in about the final week of spring, as the Cardinals this afternoon will take on the Washington Nationals. And welcome to our St. Louis-based studios here at Fox Sports Midwest. That's Rick Horton. I'm Dan McLaughlin. Not many games left, not many days left in spring training, and before you know it, it is opening day, so some final tune-ups here.
Yeah, closing in on opening day, and we're going to get a chance to see something unique today, and that's Dylan Carlson playing center field. He has really been swinging the bat well of late. A couple of home runs, Dan, this last week. He's really found his timing. He's not only taking the ball the other way, but hitting the ball with authority as well. So he gets that start in center. We'll see him in center sometime during the season. But the great thing about the game today is you've got this mixture, Dan, of the young talent of the future of the Cardinals, and you've also got a guy that represents leadership and veteran status, and that's Adam Wainwright. He'll be doing the pitching.
So Adam Wainwright is on the mound for the St. Louis Cardinals, and Adam Wainwright, Yadier Molina, they're both in the lineup. The pitchers are hitting for themselves here in the late stages of spring. You mentioned something interesting, the mix that the Cardinals have in this camp. Youth with the veterans, like Yadi and like Waino.
I think winning teams have that. You've got to have an eye to the future, but you've got to have somebody to lead them.
All right, looking forward to this. It's John Lester on the mound for the Washington Nationals, the former Cub. And for the St. Louis Cardinals, it is Adam Wainwright. It'll be our first pitch and our starting lineups, and they come your way next on Fox Sports Midwest. St. Louis Cardinals baseball is brought to you by Budweiser. This Bud's for you. By Shelter Insurance. For your auto, home, and life. We're your shield. We're your shelter. And by Ford, the official car and truck of the St. Louis Cardinals. Umpires on the scene. We're at Roger Dean Stadium. Well, we really aren't. We're actually in the studios here in St. Louis, but the Cardinals and Nationals are down at Roger Dean in Jupiter, Florida. Along with Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin down in Florida, 76 degrees as we get you set for baseball and one of the final tune-ups of this spring for Cardinals right-hander Adam Wainwright. So looking forward to this for Mike Schilt as the Cardinals come in 7-7-4. And for the Nationals, they are 8-7-3 this spring.
These two teams have seen a lot of each other this spring. Of course, they're part of that little grouping of teams that are in South Florida. The Nationals have a rebuilt lineup. They've got some new power in their lineup in the form of Josh Bell and Kyle Schwarber. Players, of course, we recognize, but not in national uniforms. They also have Ryan Zimmerman back with the club after sitting out last year. So this will be a very interesting team and a formidable lineup. And it'll be Adam Wainwright facing them today. And we look at his last 10 starts, 7 quality starts, and 3.15 ERA. But this spring, he has been as good as anybody that we've seen. He's been incredibly consistent.
He's had 5 starts. His ERA is 1.98 in 13 2/3. What have you seen out of him as to why he's had this success?
Well, that curveball looks a little familiar. We've seen plenty of those. But But really, as we always talk about with Adam Wainwright, it's the command of his fastball that sets up his curveball. And he's been good. He has not walked, I believe, just a couple of batters. He has been around the plate consistently, and I think he's been a good example for some other Cardinal starters that are struggling with that. Like Ponce de Leon would be an example, Carlos Martinez another, about just how important strike one is.
So Wainwright finishing up his warm-up tosses defensively for the Cardinals today. It'll be Tyler O'Neill in left, Dylan Carlson a start in center, and Lane Thomas will shift to right field. Arenado, DeYoung, Edman, Goldschmidt, that'll be your everyday infield on opening day in Cincinnati. And then Yadier Molina is behind the plate. Victor Robles at the top of the lineup for Davey Martinez. Then Trey Turner, Juan Soto, love watching him. Josh Bell, Starlin Castro, Kyle Schwarber, another former Cub. Garcia, Avila, and Lester. So some lefties in this lineup.
Turner and Soto both looking for their first RBI of the spring. How about that?
That's hard to believe. Victor Robles will be in that outfield every day with Juan Soto and Kyle Schwarber. Soto shifting to right, and the Nationals picking up Schwarber in free agency. First pitch, a ball, and we are underway. 13 games, 286 the average for Robles. The corners are in. Outfield shallow. The check swing on a cutter and a strike, 1-1.
Good spring for Robles as you looked at his batting average, but 3 home runs for him. He was going to be the star before Juan Soto, and he got hurt. And Soto really took his place. So I think this could be a breakout year for Robles.
There's old Uncle Charlie. How many times have we said that in the last 15 years? Curveball. Old Uncle Charlie. Check swing and a strike.
About as many times as we've said, and Yachty blocks the ball in the dirt.
Isn't that the truth? These two together again. They've been a starting battery for 274 regular season games. Most in Cardinals history and 6th most in Major League history since 1901. Here's a 1-2 pitch. Swing and a miss and a strikeout to start our afternoon. Long time these two. Adam Wainwright, Yadier Molina in that Cardinal red.
In select company in terms of their longevity as Cardinals. And you think about it, you play this game for 17, 18 years. You actually will be performing in front of several generations of fans, too. I mean, it might be the 12-year-old and the 40-year-old. But just think about how many people have seen these two guys play over the last 17, 18 years. It's phenomenal.
Trey Turner at the plate. Had a standout season a year ago. Led the majors with 78 hits. Led all shortstops in batting average, on base percentage, slugging, OPS, extra base hits. He was 7th in the MVP vote. Really good player. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Swing and a miss. Strikeout number 2 for Adam Wainwright.
So 2 strikeouts on fastballs that were about 90 miles an hour, and both of them by the hitter. Well, why is that? He's got a guard against the curveball, and he also saw 2 changeups in that at-bat. Wainwright doubled up on the changeup, so that fastball looked like it was 95.
Also notice he's changing the eye level a lot, too. Mentioned that I love watching this guy play. Juan Soto, one of the great young players in our game today. Taps it back to Waino. Underhands to Goldschmidt. Couple of strikeouts. And the ground out. 1, 2, 3. Go the Nats. Cardinals coming up in their half of the first. Hitter at the top of Mike Schilt's lineup. Then Paul Goldschmidt, Arenado, and DeYoung. O'Neill, Molina, Carlson, Thomas, and the pitcher batting 9th, Adam Wainwright. Still going. 12 starts last year with the Cubs. John Lester signed as a free agent with the Washington Nationals. And the Nationals hoping that he can solidify the back end of their rotation. He's now 37. And last year, first time, posted an ERA over 5 in his career, 5.05.
At 37, not the oldest starting pitcher in this game. Wainwright at 39. You look at their careers, both terrific careers. Wainwright began in 2005, Lester in 06. And of course, he's been an all-star, Lester has, and you know he loves to throw the cutter. When you think John Lester, you think cutter. He's going to throw the cutter to the back door, and he's going to throw it in on right-handers. He's going to use both sides of the plate to make the plate look wider.
1 ball, 1 strike. Tommy Edman, very good spring, 367 the average.
We should speak to the toughness also of John Lester.
You bet.
Who is making just his 2nd appearance in spring training. He had thyroid issues and he ended up having surgery and pitched 2 weeks after that surgery, and this is his 2nd start. So not that long ago he was dealing with hypothyroidism, which was causing him to feel weak and felt like he needed to get that taken care of. But here he is pitching today.
1 ball, 2 strikes. And the next to Tommy Edman. And when you think of John Lester and his toughness, beating cancer, coming back, pitching in the major leagues, and having a fabulous career. The 2-2 pitch. And Tommy got a piece to stay alive. All began in 2006 for John Lester when he was a member of the Boston Red Sox. In that rookie year, 15 starts, went 7-2. Won a couple of world titles with the Red Sox and then the famous world championship with the Cubs.
Ever since he's back pitching, he wants to win 200 games. I don't know that he's stating that publicly, but 193 career wins for Lester.
It on the ground is short, taken there by Turner. And on the bag, Bell for the out. So he is at 190 wins, 108 losses. Pretty darn good.
It was an awkward throw by Trey Turner. I don't believe I've ever seen him throw from that angle before, almost as if he had a stiff kind of shoulder as he threw that ball, and it sailed on it. It was a good play by Bell, just staying on the bag.
One of the issues last year for Lester, home runs allowed. 11 home runs in 61 innings. So basically a home run per 9, 1.6 the average, which is well above what he is accustomed to. Goldschmidt with 1 home run this spring. Reaching for it, hits it into the shift. Turner slings it over to first and dug out again by Bell. So the defense behind John Lester was Schwarber in left, Robles in center, Soto is in right. Starlin Castro, another former Cub, he's at third. Turner, Garcia, Bell on the infield. Bell, the former Pirate, and Alex Avila is behind the plate. Nolan Arenado.
I've seen enough of Arenado this spring training to think that he's got a future as being a pretty good player, Dan. I'm going out on a limb with that. He does not have a home run this spring, but a lot of at-bats that are, I guess I would call them dangerous at-bats, where the pitcher's being careful with him, and you just know what kind of impact he has on a club.
Talked to John Mozeliak this morning about Nolan, and I said, what have you learned about him that maybe you didn't know? And he said he is gifted. We all knew that. He said, I'd heard about it, but when you see it in person, he said, I didn't realize how hard this guy works. So essentially, Ricky, as you know, being down there, about every 5th or 6th day, it's an off day for the club.
Right.
And they do have backfield simulated games, but a lot of times it's a chance for these everyday players to get a day off. He said Nolan Arenado is there every day. He said the bottom line is the guy loves baseball. He's a baseball rat. He wants to be around the game. And our young players are watching him intently.
And that makes me think of the Cardinal great Albert Pujols as being a guy that led the way on that as far as young players by influencing how early he got to the ballpark. He did that for years. He was there, I mean, I'm going to say
5 in the morning.
Before 6, right. And he's talking to the young minor league players. And, I mean, he just was a guy that just loved to be at the ballpark. And that is contagious. You get the sense that, you know what, maybe I should do that. You know, I learned that from Jim Cott.
One of my favorites.
And I learned it by accident.
Arenado, high fly ball, left field. Schwarber in the corner to make the catch.
He told me he'd take me to the ballpark every day, and I said, great. And he said, I'll pick you up at 5. And I went, oh. That was the accident.
But you learned.
I did.
To the game with Rick Horton.
Very simple. Stay healthy. And I think you could say the same thing for both ball clubs, any ball club nearing the end of spring training, especially your pitchers. You want them to be tuning up and to be healthy going into opening day. And of course, you know, injuries can happen at any time, but and you want players to continue to compete, but those late injuries in spring training can be killers.
It's been a good spring for Josh Bell and exactly what the Nationals were hoping for. Acquired in a trade with the Pirates. We'll see if he can be the power guy in the middle of their order. 2019 was a breakout season for Bell. 37 home runs, drove in 116. But last season, like for many, career lows in batting average, on base, slugging, OPS. So getting back to where he was a couple of seasons ago.
I'm definitely seeing a little bit of a different swing with him that I've seen in the past. It looks like he's really trying to elevate the ball more. And many players, of course, are talking or thinking about the launch angle as they go about how they swing the bat. But I always thought of him as more of a line drive hitter, but I think he's thinking big fly now.
1 ball, 1 strike. Josh Bell. Adam Wainwright had 10 pitches in that first inning. 8 were strikes. Struck out 2 and got a soft ground ball off the bat of Soto.
Between he and Lester, they threw 6 pitches out of the strike zone, and 2 of them were balls that should have been called strikes. So not bad.
Not bad at all. The changeup taken low. 3-1. Adam, the winner of the 2020 Roberto Clemente Humanitarian Award. Talked to Adam a few weeks before spring training, and we were doing a Zoom call. He said, let me show you this. And one of his friends had a Roberto Clemente card, and it was next to his award. And he said, this is the most important award I've ever gotten. And my buddy gave me this mint condition Clemente award and card, I should say. And he said, when I got that card, it just meant so much to me, because that card meant so much to his friend who had it in mint condition and said, I didn't know what to do with this. I was waiting for the right time, and since you won that award, this means so much to me, I want to give it to you.
That is a classic, great baseball story, isn't it?
3-2 pitch, curveball, pulled foul.
And I can picture many people listening and watching our telecast today thinking about the cards that they had and what they meant to them as kids and wanting to be like the players that are in the big leagues. And so that story really resonates with me.
Hit the other way. So Adam, when we were doing the Zoom call, he said, let me take you around my office. And there were some gold gloves and silver sluggers and neat pictures.
But I pictured him tripping over them.
No, he did not. And he said, but I got to show you this one. And that's right when he went to the Clemente Award. He said, I keep it very close to my computer, very close to my desk. And goodbye. He has seen 4, comes back to get Bell, and he struck out 3.
Throws him on the fastball in, comes back over the inside corner, and that follows, well framed by Yachty, I should say, as well. But following the curveball, again, the fastball just looking faster because of the off-speed pitches.
DeGrom, Alcantara, we saw him yesterday. Trevor Williams, the former Pirate, now with Chicago. And then Adam Wainwright, 4th best in ERA this spring.
All right, so
Starlin Castro.
So here's a question I'll ask you, Dan. When does the contract extension conversation start with Adam Wainwright?
Probably February next year at some point.
Probably.
You know.
But wouldn't you like it? I mean, the way he's pitching now, you think, well, maybe we'll get to see even more of this. I mean, I'd be okay with it.
I mentioned that I spoke to John Mozeliak, and I said, so with Waino and Yachty, is it just same old, same old? And he said, yes and no. He said it's the same thing that you're used to seeing in terms of in shape, ready to go. There's the ground out. He said, but here's the thing. Not many teams can say that our aging superstars, if you will, are the best players in spring.
Right.
And he said, we've got these 2 guys are our best players right now in spring.
And to think that they weren't signed right before spring training.
That's right.
And where would the Cardinals be without him, of course, is a classic line that we all use. But I wonder if there are some teams in Molina's case that are maybe wondering, you know what, maybe we should have gotten him. I think of the Yankees as an example. They're a team that I know was in the bidding for him, and I know people were lobbying hard for them to get him. He'd be a difference maker.
Schwarber launches one into right center and gone. Hanging breaking ball and the home run, the 3rd of the spring for Kyle Schwarber. Saw that a bunch with the Cubs. He can do that. Great power. 1-0 Washington.
Boy, did he square that one up. Now, the question on this particular home run is, will it ever come down? There's the hanging breaking ball, and I don't know whether he's looking breaking ball or not. He's probably looking fastball. He just kept his hands back on the breaking ball, and he hit that ball a ton. That tent back there, Dan, is a long way from home plate, and on about the 2nd bounce, looked like it hit against that tent.
We don't see a lot of home runs down in that ballpark into right center. You see them down the lines. On the ground, DeYoung and Garcia retired. The home run hit by Schwarber, first hit in this game. 1-0 midway through 2. Game tickets for April are on sale now. matchups with the Brewers, Nationals, and more, and a promotional giveaway for all 13 home games. Tickets at Cardinals.com. DeYoung, O'Neill, and Molina. Now, Ricky, you were spending most of your spring down in, well, at the ballpark. You were sleeping there. You know, you were doing games.
Brought a cot, yeah.
Right. Well, it's great to have the fans back.
Yes, it is.
It's awesome.
No doubt.
Now, when that one fan gets agitated or wants to be loud, you hear that fan more than ever this year.
It is a difference. There's no question. And we actually, I could hear a little bit of it on our telecast yesterday, but it actually happened on the radio side on a broadcast about a week ago where there was an ongoing back and forth about Jose Altuve that was funny. And you can't help but to pick it up with our mics, and it doesn't get drowned out by kind of the dull roar of everybody being there. So it's kind of has a feel more of a high school game or a college game in some ways. But I will say that the fans have gotten a lot more into it as spring training has gone along, and a little bit more excited about maybe getting closer to that opening day.
And we would all hope that as we continue to get into May and June and July and the summer months, we continue to open up with more fans.
Yeah, Texas, for those that don't know, is allowing really everybody there on their opening day. And the Cardinals will have 32% capacity.
The 2-2 into center, and Robles is there.
And again, hoping that gets bigger and bigger as it goes along. But 15,000 people at Busch Stadium is still a lot better than 2,000 cardboard cutouts. I mean, it's going to be a lot better atmosphere for players. And the players have been saying this on a lot of their Zoom calls, that they're feeling the crowd reacting to big moments. That was the thing they missed last year. Jack Flaherty told me this offseason that's the thing that bothered him the most. Not that, you know, when you're competing, you're not thinking about it, but you have a big moment and a big strikeout to end an inning at home, and you walk off to silence. It's just not the same.
Absolutely. There's Tyler O'Neill, good spring, 394, 2 home runs, and he has driven in 8. We're seeing him, Ricky, really use the entire field.
Oh, yeah. Short swing. And he was close last year to getting that. You know, the home run numbers were there for him. Led the Cardinals in home runs, but the average was down. And, you know, you play 50, 60 games, you're not going to really get the full sample size perhaps, and the Cardinals had the interrupted season anyway. But I feel like I've been feeling like he's ready to break out. He's showing that in spring training.
You see Lester just pitch, try to beat up on that outside corner, just staying away, 3-0. One swing of the bat could tie it up. Three and one.
The beauty of Lester's attack, and I've been noticing this for several years, he'll start the cutter away off the plate, and it'll come towards the corner. He'll start the cutter inside on the plate, and it'll be a ball inside. So the plate looks twice as wide as it really is to a batter.
Draws a walk, and a one-out walk, and the first base runner for St. Louis.
A patient Tyler O'Neill that at bat.
Yadier Molina. It was on Saturday afternoon. The Cardinals reduced their number of players in Major League Camp to 44. So they had optioned Seth Elledge, Rondon, Ivan Herrera, Ali Sanchez, Ramirez, Mendoza, some others. Delvin Perez, you've heard a lot about. They didn't option number 4, by the way. He's still here.
Yeah.
Runner goes. That's O'Neill. Throw to second, and he is in there safely. It's another element of his game.
It's an element you don't see a lot because last year was all or nothing. He either hit home runs or he didn't get on base. And so here he reaches via the walk, and he turns it into a double. Slides right to the bag hard, and a lot of people are, and I know Tyler speaks about this as well. A lot of people just don't understand how fast he is.
One of the fastest men in baseball.
Definitely.
1-0 pitch, and Molina pops it up into shallow left field. Turner with the catch. Something I was thinking about is that we talked for many years about John Lester and his move, or lack thereof, with the Chicago Cubs.
Right.
That's something that the Nationals have to get accustomed to, but you mentioned it earlier. He's only made a couple of starts, so it's something you got to work on.
They're going to have to work that through. There's no question. And part of that work is going to have to start with Lester communicating to everybody on the Nationals what he does. And it won't be a huge secret to them. And, of course, Dave Martinez will have a familiarity with Lester, having been with the Cubs for a while. And I just think, you know, Lester's gotten better at even though he doesn't have a move to first, he can't throw to first very well. That's well documented. He controls the running game somehow, some way. He seemed to befuddle the Cardinals in that area. I mean, just could not find out ways to steal bases, although you'd think it would be easy.
Want to know the count on the switch hitting Dylan Carlson with Tyler O'Neill at second base. And Carlson lifts a fly ball out to deep center field. It is near the track and caught. Robles there makes the catch. Cardinals strand a runner. We head to the third. 1-0 Nets. Presented by Budweiser. And we'll have the game for you tomorrow. We'll come your way at noon. The Mets will be at Roger Dean. And then our final telecast of spring will be this Saturday at 5 against Miami. Opening day coverage April 1st. And our coverage begins at 2 as the Cardinals take on the Reds.
It's game number 19 this afternoon at Roger Dean Stadium, out of 24. And important to remember, a truncated spring training schedule. So I think a little different feel for players, but I don't know that that's all been bad. Personally, I think players just started out competing earlier, and we started seeing the regular lineup earlier. And the guys maybe that have suffered from that are the minor league players, or maybe the B guys that just can't get enough innings, especially considering there's no minor league camp going on.
Alex Avila looks at a breaking ball and a strike. So still some decisions to be made for the Cardinals. As Mike Schultz said earlier today, that John Gant has been very good, has made his case for the rotation. And we're still not sure how many pitchers the Cardinals will go north with, and a lot of that is dependent upon whether or not Williams has an option. Now, there are other guys like Justin Williams that could get a fourth option, so to speak. And some of those decisions are being made by arbiters, and it's not going their way. So if he doesn't have that option, very good chance that he comes with the club north and one less pitcher.
And I think you have the other maybe variable in that is just how healthy is KK.
Yep.
Mike Schultz was asked this morning if he had any consideration of using Kim out of the bullpen. He said no, he'll be a starter. And so I think they're hoping that, you know, it's an outside chance that he's ready to start the first week of the season, towards the end of the first week, or maybe miss a start. I mean, I think that's what they're hoping for now. But if that's not the case, then you've got a whole different need in the Cardinals rotation and bullpen.
Arenado. Wow. Nolan Arenado in the shift takes a hit away from Avila. Get used to seeing that.
What a terrific play. And that made me think of a play made by a shortstop, not by a third baseman. And why do I say that? It's the agility, being able to throw off your knees, and of course where he's playing and where he's throwing from. But that's a shortstop play there. So you think of him as a corner infielder clearly, but if he had to play short, I'd be okay with that.
I'd be fine with that. Great play. Nolan Arenado to his left with the shift, and now John Lester at the plate. So no DH in the National League, and the pitchers back to hitting, at least for one more year. The DH last year combined, so you had National League and American League, they hit .231. That was the average. Slugging percentage was .408. Cardinals, if you're wondering, their designated hitters hit .234. But going back to 2019, when pitchers were hitting, take a guess at what that batting average was.
140.
Keep going south.
South of 140.
Yep. Now
Wow.
the Cardinals are 142.
Okay. But combined, everybody,
Yep.
125.
128. So these guys hit 128 in that full season, the pitchers. That was almost 4,500 at bats, Ricky, and they haven't swung a bat basically for a year and a half, 2 years.
Don't expect more than that.
I agree. You know, it's going to be a break in some of these lineups for these pitchers on the mound. And Lester looks at a called third strike. First time through the lineup. 4 strikeouts for Wainwright.
You've heard me tell this story before, but I got a hit my last time at bat in high school against a kid named Richie DiVincenzo, who was 17, and 6 years later I got my next hit against Nolan Ryan in the big leagues. So in that 6-year period, I can tell you, Nolan Ryan threw a lot harder than Richie DiVincenzo. And I had to gear it up a little faster. So you don't hit for 6 years, and even in the case of, because of where we were last year, don't hit for a year. It's not like, I'm not going to say it's like riding a bicycle. The timing's just too hard.
I'm not worried about the hitting so much. I'm worried about situational baseball, getting a bunt down, those kind of things. Am I off base with that?
No, you're not. Never known you, Dan McLaughlin, to be off base.
Much. Anyway, 1-0. Fox Sports Midwest becoming Bally Sports Midwest. Bally Sports will be the new network of your favorite team starting March 31st. Here's Lane Thomas. Hot start. Beginning of spring has cooled a bit.
Tailing off. The competition has been in the Cardinals outfield, and he's been part of that. You throw Austin Dean into that, Justin Williams, but of course Bader, O'Neill, Carlson. There's a lot of players trying to figure out who's the everyday guy, and I think Thomas had an inside track after the first, let's say, 10 games of spring training, but you're right, he's cooled off.
If Williams does not have the option, Lane Thomas does. Lane Thomas, though, lines it into the shift, and the catch made up the middle, and I believe that was Luis Garcia, and it was.
A lot of hard hit outs for Lane Thomas. I'll give him that, but you can say the same thing about Justin Williams. Mike Schultz saying today that the exit velocity off the bat of Justin Williams has been as good as anybody in spring training.
They want to get more lift,
right,
and see if he can hit for some power, more so than he has in the past.
You mean like pitchers do?
Not well. This guy does. This guy can hit for some power.
Weren't we just talking about pitchers not hitting? Aren't you glad you get to watch Adam Wainwright hit? He's done it before. How about this? There's a big fly. Just dropped the bat head. Hit the ball up in the second deck. Nothing wrong with that. I can go to center field too.
And a fly ball lifted to center. Robles. Yeah, Wainwright said when he first swung the bat the other day, it was like he had never swung a bat before. Yeah. So it takes a little bit to get that timing back. I don't know if you saw this, but the former Cardinal farmhand, eventually part of the Marlins, part of the Ozuna deal. Follow me here. He's now with Arizona. Zach Gallen. He was taking BP and reported some forearm problems with BP.
Just going to say, very easy to do that when you are in spring training and you're getting your arm in shape. You have sensitive parts of your arm always. I mean, that's why do players get treatment every day, especially pitchers, because you're doing a motion that's really not natural. Your arm hangs down at your side. It's not over your head. So you're putting muscles in awkward positions, including your extension backwards within your delivery. And so you've got to kind of nurse that along. And sometimes swinging the bat aggravates some of those areas you're trying to heal.
Edman pops it up. Bell, foul territory. And Tommy's got a life. And then we had a situation in Arizona about a week ago. I think it was Kyle Hendricks running. And just an awkward situation at the bag. Put the ball in play and kind of went head over heels, and they were lucky he wasn't hurt.
I know there are a lot of people saying, oh, wait a minute, I played when I was 12 years old, and I never had to worry about it, and it never hurt me to swing a bat. It's like, well, yeah, 12-year-olds don't pull hamstrings either. I mean, very often. I mean, you get to be at this age and this level of body strength and body mass, and you have different kind of stress on joints, and you're doing it every day. You can easily pull something, and I think you do have to take some care with that. I'm sure Major League teams are all thinking about that, Dan, and pitching coaches especially are saying, okay, you go hit now, don't get hurt.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's the corollary.
Now, you know, Madison Bumgarner, he wants to swing the bat. Waino wants to swing the bat. Zach Greinke, who's in the American League, wants to swing the bat. He's trying to become 10-10, which would join him with Bob Gibson, 10 home runs, 10 steals.
Oh, wow.
And Waino is at 199, so he wants to finish with an average of 200 or better. Edman lines it into right. Well, isn't that the case, Ricky? You give a major leaguer, you get him one more chance, let him off the hook with a drop foul ball, and you get a base hit.
No question. It wasn't an easy play necessarily for Bell, but this seems like such an easy swing, doesn't it? Just drop the bat in, hit the ball the other way. And one of the things that Tommy Edman gives you is more of a old school type approach to hitting. I'm not saying that's the only way to do it or the best way to do it. It is a way to do it. But he's a guy that will use all fields. Tough to shift on Tommy Edman, whether he's batting left or right-handed.
Here's Goldschmidt with 2 outs and a runner at first. Now, last year in this situation, I'd say you never run Tommy Edman, because then you'd automatically not pitch to Goldschmidt. Where now, if you run him, you put him in scoring position.
They're not going to walk Goldschmidt.
Then, yeah, pick your poison.
Right. They won't walk. They would not do that. And, you know, it's interesting how the lineup has evolved here in spring training. Goldschmidt's been in that second spot for about a week now.
Do you like that?
I do. He was not there initially, but they moved him to 2, and I think that's a good fit.
It's a ball and a strike. Paul grounded to short, first time up, shift on the left side. Edman is running, and the pitch is lifted to center field. Line drive to Robles. Cardinals strand a runner. They're second. We move to the 4th. To win $200,000. MLB opening day pick'em, presented by Loan Depot. See rules and enter at MLB.com/pick'em. Restrictions apply. Wainwright has struck out 4, allowed 1 hit, and the solo home run by Kyle Schwarber back in inning number 2.
John Lester's been good. Wainwright's been good. I think Waino's stuff has been better. Lester is ahead in this game 1-0, and he's made very few mistakes. He does not have a strikeout, just the 1 Cardinal hit allowed, but Waino looks really, really good.
Up the middle, Edman to his right. That's 10 of 11 first pitch strikes for Adam Wainwright. Don't get me wrong, Colt Wong is the best defensive second baseman in the game, but the guy the Cardinals have there right now, you know, analytically, when the Cardinals had put themselves in a situation to watch Tommy Edman, whether it be at short, third, or a natural position like second, he is very, very good.
Yeah, he's very good. And is Colton Wong better than very good? Yeah, I mean, Gold Glove. So, I mean, I don't think we should put the bar at that high necessarily for Tommy Edman, but I don't think we should disrespect his defense either. And not only that, he's a complete player to me. Gets on base, he's working on the higher on-base percentage to walk more, uses all fields on the offensive side, and you know he's going to hit some home runs too. That's not his thing necessarily, but he'll run into some.
1 pitch to Soto. Now 0-2. So a fastball, then the changeup. Let's see what Wainwright has up his sleeve here against one of the game's best in Soto.
Changing speed so well.
Sure is.
In this game.
Shift on the right side.
It's almost as if he and the catcher are on the same page.
Yeah, those guys hardly even know each other. Does Yachty even put down a sign half the time?
Hey, just throw it. Go ahead.
Right.
I know what you're doing.
Here's the curveball. And doesn't get the call. 2-2.
The most demonstrative take in baseball. Juan Soto.
I enjoy it.
I do too. I do too. People that know him talk about him being just a great guy to have on your team. Just fun. Yeah. Certainly energetic at the plate.
He's supposed to be a senior in college, by the way, right now, Ricky. And now he's striking out. 5 today for Waino.
very interesting sequence of pitches Wainwright uses against one of the National League's best hitter. He starts him out, fastball right down central. That was actually his pitch to hit. Then throws a changeup, hits the outside corner, and then he tries to work that corner with Yadier Molina a couple of ways with the cutter, then the curveball, and it's back to that fastball on the outer half. Soto didn't think it was a strike, but Waino just dotted that outside corner.
Here's Josh Bell, struck out looking. And that pitch on the inside corner. He is locked in. It's a treat to watch this guy pitch. It really is. It's fun. Little hesitation there with the delivery.
Got a lot of tricks up his sleeve, and what does that do? Makes the batter late.
Yep.
So you get an extra strike, and now you're in the driver's seat, 0-2. I mean, I don't think Wainwright has just found the fountain of youth. I think he stayed there for a week and just kind of soaked in all of the
couple years, maybe.
I think he has just been really good this spring. That's that elevated swing I'm talking about with Josh Bell. It's a different finish than I remember from him. Wainwright's certainly not just a current Cardinal star, but when you think about his career and where he ranks as in the franchise, he's up among the Cardinals' best.
A swing and a miss on the curveball. 1, 2, 3 go the Nationals. 6 strikeouts through 4 innings for Adam Wainwright. It's 1-0. Fourth, and it's 1-0 Nationals. Home run hit by Kyle Schwarber. The massive acquisition of Nolan Arenado made by the Cardinals in the offseason makes me think about this date in Cardinals history back in 2000. Cardinals acquired one Jimmy Edmonds from the Angels for Kent Bottenfield and Adam Kennedy.
Pretty good deal.
Oh boy, was it ever. I was talking to Jimmy the other day about that, and I said, what'd you think? He said, I had no idea what I was about to get into, but when I got to Jupiter, he said it took me one day and I was sold. That's what he told me. He said he had basically started after that day, got a standing ovation. McGuire pulled him aside and said, you have no idea what you're in for. He said, this is the best place you're ever going to play. You're going to love opening day. You're going to love St. Louis. They're going to love you. And he said he called his agent and said, if they offer something, you better tell me. Don't be one of those guys that holds out and says, well, we're going to think about, you know, getting the best deal in the offseason. I want to be with the Cardinals. This place is perfect for me. And was it ever? Arenado rips it foul, and I think we all feel the same way with Nolan at the plate.
Yadi was asked about Arenado, and he said, you know, have you talked to him since he agreed to come to St. Louis? Because he had to agree to that. And Yadi said, I have been talking to him for a long time. That's how he said it. So don't think that the influence of players and what they say about playing in a particular city or for a particular manager, that doesn't make a lot of difference, because it does.
There's a walk as Lester stares back into the home plate umpire.
And you know winning's part of it too. I asked Arenado this winter about agreeing to come to St. Louis, and I said, and it was really fresh after the deal was made, and one of the questions I asked him is, have you allowed yourself to start thinking about October potentialities now because you're going to the Cardinals? And he said, well, I wouldn't have agreed to this deal if it wasn't for that. I mean, that's part of being a Cardinal, is expecting to play and hoping to play in October.
It's good. Mutual admiration society when you talk about Arenado and Yadi is DeYoung hits it the other way, and Arenado will stop at second base, back to the bag safely. And Nolan was saying the other day, talking about Yadi, he said, I had seen him from afar. Good job here by DeYoung to go the other way. I had watched him intently, because you love to watch great defensive players if you yourself are in that conversation. But he said all those things, the legend of him is how he put it. It's all true. And he said, and then some. He goes, man, you watch this guy play every day and you realize why he's as good as he is. The effort, first to the ballpark that we talked about earlier, wants to play, wants to be with his teammates, great leadership. He said all those things. O'Neill rips it out to left. And Arenado will stop at third. The bases will be loaded for the Cardinals. So a walk and back-to-back singles. And it brings in Yachty.
I had wondered about Lester even going out for the 4th inning because his first spring training start he only threw 2. But the pitch count was low enough that he's back out here with the fourth inning. But the Cardinals have really swung the bat well. How loud was that contact to left field?
Kyle McGowan has been throwing in the pen for Washington. Here's Molina, popped out to short first time up. Bases loaded and nobody out.
I would guess this is his last batter. Probably thinking 50 pitches for him, second time out.
And the first pitch to Molina. Taken low.
You know, I've thought for Lester, too. I've been thinking about him as this game has rolled on, about the difference in his life of no longer playing for a manager that used to be your teammate and your catcher. It's probably a good thing. Probably good for him to have a, not that there's anything wrong, there was anything wrong in their relationship, but just for him to get new life, new team, probably good.
Now he's got Davey Martinez. It was David Ross. And Yachty hits a high fly ball out to left, backing up. It is Schwarber. He'll make the catch. Arenado tagging up. He will score, and this game is tied. The RBI for Yadier Molina, his 3rd of the spring.
Four good Cardinal at-bats to start this inning. Different forms, a walk, a hit the other way, a rocket to left, and the situational hitting of Yadier Molina driving in that run.
And now it's Dylan Carlson, the switch hitter, who talked about this after his game yesterday, another home run, but he said, got off to a slow start. He said, primarily, I was always hitting right-handed, and by the chances of facing right-handed pitching, got to go to the left side. You're seeing a different side, just more of a timing rhythm thing. Back to right-handed here, and he flied to deep center first time up.
One of the things Mike Schultz said is, you know, you hope that through spring training, your switch hitters, Tommy Edman, Dylan Carlson, will get a chance to be from both sides of the plate. He said it's hard to kind of organize that. You can't get cooperation from the other side to say, hey, leave in that lefty for a bit, will you?
Sure.
I want him to get in that bat right-handed. You just have to kind of go along with it.
Softly hit left side, out there, the turn, and not in time. And Bell had to be heads up to make sure that DeYoung didn't round third base and try to score. He might have been able to on that play.
Good hustle for Carlson to keep the double play from happening. It wasn't hit hard enough, but as DeYoung rounds third, what he doesn't know is that this is going to happen. When you've got Bell falling down and having to throw from his back, he probably could have scored, but he would have had to almost predict that.
And that'll be it for John Lester. McGowan coming in. Kyle McGowan, 6'3", 200-pounder, converted to the bullpen last year full-time. They talked about his slider being very, very good, kind of his go-to pitch last year. So he'll have runners at first and third. Lane Thomas lined into the shift his first time up back in the third. So 2 outs and 2 on. Tell you one of the things too, Ricky, with the pitcher back in play in a lineup, I've always felt the 8th place hitter, it's a tough spot to be in. Are you being pitched to or being pitched around to get to the pitcher?
Right. And I think if you're talking about American League style of a lineup, doesn't really matter, because you're just going to set your lineup maybe with some speed at the bottom and a different way to score runs. And so you don't have that same difficulty of hitting 8th and thinking, well, should I expand my zone or not? And that's really what happens. If an 8th place hitter can start to think, well, it's up to me for us to score more runs, so I'm going to become more expansive with my zone and maybe swing at some pitches I shouldn't, just because I don't want to. I mean, walk is not a good option here. Again, if your pitcher's hitting 120 behind you, You know, I've always felt that about star players, though, too. And you know, we've talked about several names already in this telecast, whether it's Jim Edmonds or Albert Pujols or Mark McGwire. Do you want them to expand their zone? Or do you want them to just take the walk? I mean, there are times where I didn't like it when Albert Pujols walked.
I think about that with Joey Votto a lot.
Yeah, no doubt. And so do a lot of Reds fans.
Oh, yeah. You know, you look at his numbers, though, he is a borderline right now Hall of Famer. And it just, what do you value? The on-base percentage is incredible. There's no denying that, but sometimes you'd like to see him maybe expand the zone and drive it out of the ballpark or drive somebody in. The 2-1 pitch. Well, there's that breaking pitch that I spoke of earlier by McGowan. It's a good one.
Sharp downward movement. He's been very good this spring. He's had short stints in the big leagues with the Nats over the last 3 years, but where he is in his age, he's trying to nail down one of those spots.
And the 2-2 pitch with 2 runners on and 2 outs. Lane Thomas, the right fielder today. Got him. So a strikeout of Thomas. Cardinals will strand a couple, but they pick up a run. We played 4, and it's 1-1. The 2021 Cardinals Hall of Fame ballot is live now through April 17th at cardinals.com/HOF. Presented by Edward Jones. They're not there yet. They're on their way. Waino and Yachty, but a chance to pick out of this group: Carlton, Hernandez, Matty Moe, Edgar Renteria, and Lee Smith. What a class. And they will go in with Tommy Herr, John Tudor, Bill White. Talked to Tommy Herr, I guess it was about a month ago, Ricky. He said he kept on getting this weird phone number calling him. He said, I don't recognize this number. I'm not taking it.
Yeah.
Well, he probably should have, because it was Mr. DeWitt that kept calling him. And so Larry State, who heads up the alumni with Joe Pfeiffer of the Cardinals, had to call Tommy and say, hey, look, if this number pops up, take the call. You're going to like it.
It's our one of our technology problems, isn't it?
He said, I wasn't going to take that call. I didn't know the number.
Some robocall from somebody.
And, of course, Larry, you know, he doesn't want to deliver the news.
Of course not.
Mr. DeWitt's job to deliver that news.
So you just say, how do you say that without kind of letting it out?
If you see that number pop up, just take the call. You're gonna like it.
I know the solution. I mean, I wasn't there. I would have suggested that Mr. DeWitt use Larry State's phone.
Right. Well, we are being socially distant, so
slide it down
yeah. There you go.
Clean it off.
That could have worked.
A little complicated, probably.
Yes. Starlin Castro lifts a fly ball out to center. Dylan Carlson in center field today makes the catch. And that's out number 1. Wainwright has struck out 6, allowed 1 hit, and that was Kyle Schwarber, solo home run back in inning number 2.
And that is put out number 1 for Cardinal outfielders in this game. Everything has been strikeout infield other than the Schwarber home run.
Soft contact.
Yes. I wouldn't call Schwarber's at that remotely soft contact.
No, sir.
That's one you got to be proud of when you're a pitcher. Just say, I can't believe I threw a pitch that ended up that far away from where it started.
Kevin Segrist knows about that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Schwarber put one against Segrist in the playoffs on top of the scoreboard at Wrigley in right field.
I'm not so sure that the home run in this game wasn't equally as far. The center field?
That's a bomb at this ballpark. Yeah. Here it is, second inning, breaking ball, and wow.
Crack of the bat, and then some. You know, those tents back there is where they do a lot of the COVID testing, and, you know, they have meals back there, and I think they got interrupted by that home run.
Abruptly.
Someone was.
Sure. 2-1 to count. Schwarber, 2019, had 38 home runs in the last full season, drove in 92. And last year, career lows, batting average, he hit 188 last year. And the Cubs elected not to re-sign him, and he became a free agent. 3-1 pitch.
I don't think the
first walk.
Cubs were necessarily disenchanted with him. I think they just got to a point with where their veteran core was getting. They just realized they couldn't re-sign everybody.
I think financially, too,
right.
with
Yeah.
what happened and understanding as you talk about their core. You know, you've got Chris Bryant, you've got Baez, you've got
Rizzo,
Contreras, Rizzo. I mean, there's a lot of guys that they're looking at to try to keep potentially. Luis Garcia grounded out to short. Curveball hit the other way, beats the shift, and a base hit into left. Schwarber stopping at second base, and it's runners at first and second for Alex Avila.
Now here's where Adam Wainwright has to go to pitching, and you point to a couple of Cardinal pitchers again. I mentioned them earlier, and not kind of piling on for them, but just realizing that their next step is going to be to learn how to get out of situations like this. But for Ponce de Leon, Carlos Martinez this spring, when things have started to happen in a bad direction, they just seem to snowball. But Adam Wainwright has always had the ability to figure out, with some help from number 4, how do we get out of this? And he doesn't lose sight of the fact that he can get out of it, even though he's got a couple runners aboard and he's under attack here.
Boy, it's not very often. I was just thinking about that. How, you know, they have the meeting on the mound there, and it's number 4 and number 50. So Wainwright and Molina. How many times you see Mike Maddox when Wainwright's on the mound make that visit, do the claw on the shoulder?
Yeah.
You don't see that with him.
Well, his shoulder's way up in the air.
That's true. He's 7'6" or whatever
for that probably.
When he's on the mound, I get it. But the point being, these guys, they know what they're doing, and it's let them kind of handle their own business.
So as a pitcher, I think one of the things you learn is you always want to have some stature, right? So when somebody comes out to the mound, you stay on the mound. Don't get off the mound. You want to be taller than everybody else. Has got to be on the lower part. Just
you're being serious about that.
I'm not kidding. There's a feel of that moment that you don't want to. You want to give the impression that you're 10 feet tall. Now in Adam Wainwright's case, he's a lot closer than most to being that tall, but I think there's something about that confidence projection that matters to a pitcher.
Remember, I think it was Michaelis on the mound a couple of years ago. And there's a 0-2 pitch to Avila, who was robbed by Arenado last time up. Curveball pulled foul. Somebody made a routine out, and when he was running down the first base line, maybe ran through the bag or whatever, but when he ran back to and this was at Busch Stadium, the visitors' dugout, he ran on the mound, and benches came out.
Yeah.
And I think I was doing the game with you, and you talked about it, man. It's my place.
Well, there was a moment with Alex Rodriguez years before that where he did the same thing. I think it was Dallas Breeden, I believe, was pitching, if I'm not mistaken. And he felt that he had the same reaction. He yelled at him right away.
Dallas Braden of the A's.
Dallas Braden, right? Yeah. I believe he just said that you don't go. This is my mound. It's funny how territorial you get.
Sure. Dallas Braden, he of the perfect game,
right,
with the Oakland A's, with Grandma in the stands. Nothing in 2, the count. Avila looks at a call, third strike. Strikeout number 7. Got him on the breaking ball.
Oh, you need an out? You go to Uncle Charlie. We've said that a few times in this game, and that one was a terrific breaking ball. A lot of spin on that down part of the zone.
See a pinch hitter here. This would be Hernandez.
We've seen him a few times in spring training, and he's gone the other way really well. Yadiel Hernandez. Getting a look in the outfield. Beware on the left side of the Cardinals infield.
There's strike 1. So 2 outs, runners at first and second. Looked like he was trying to go the other way with that pitch.
You bet.
Nationals last year were never above 500 at any point last season. And over their final 43 games, they were either in 4th or 5th place in the National League East, which will be very competitive this year. The 0-1. Nothing in 2.
But I think they have a core feeling of 2019 more than they do of 2020. I think with Zimmerman coming back, they have Gerardo Parra back, and Parra was a big emotional part of that World Series team. And Zimmerman, of course, has been a part of everything Washington Nationals since the beginning.
Face of their franchise.
That's right.
And the 0-2 pitch. Wainwright today, 16 of 18 first pitch strikes. We've talked about it, and we will talk about it a lot. With this defense the Cardinals will put out there every night, I mean, it's a premium put on throwing strikes. You always want to say that and always want to see it, but this defense is going to bail you out.
And that's how you have 65 pitches working in the 5th inning.
That's right. Even with 7 strikeouts. And the 0-2 pitch by Waino. Ground ball, right side. Tommy Edman makes the play. Nationals strand a pair. Waino leads it off when we come back. Boy, is it nice to have sports back. Spring training baseball, Blues hockey. And that'll be Thursday, 6:30 on Fox Sports Midwest. The Blues at Minnesota. Blues in a tough stretch of games. They're playing a lot of road games. Played at Vegas last night. Minnesota on Thursday. So here is Joe Ross. 6'4", 220 pounds. And last year he opted out of the 2020 season. So it's been some talk that he could work out of their bullpen or maybe their rotation. Their rotation should be very good when healthy with Scherzer, Strasburg, Patrick Corbin, Lester,
and then number 5, and he's one of the shots at number 5. Austin Voth is another one. They've got Fetty, who's a guy who's been in and out of the rotation and the bullpen, but those first 4 are going to get the ball every 5th day.
And a swing and a miss by Wainwright. Fly to center, first time up. John Lester went 3 2/3, 3 hits, 1 run. It was earned. No strikeouts, walked 1. McGowan got the final out last inning and picked up a strikeout.
Ross's brother Tyson pitched with the Cardinals, and I found him to be just a professional, delightful guy. You know, he was not here very long, but he made an impression, I think, on that clubhouse.
And he was needed too.
Yeah.
Cardinals needed innings at that time, and he provided that. Wainwright hits it to third. And there's one away. So we'll see Waino go at least 6 innings today. Probably it. You don't know, but I would say 6 innings. Here's Tommy Edman, 1 for 2. Single to right, grounded out to short.
On a daily basis, Mike Shildt is asked, how many pitches do you have for starter X today? And he always qualifies his answer, and I think rightfully so, is you might have a number in your mind, and maybe that number is 75, or maybe it's 50 or 40 when they first started early in spring. But the number is really predicated on how they look, too. Are they throwing a lot of pitches in trouble? And so the eye test still has to win out on that. I mean, you have a starting place. It's the jump-off place of saying 75 pitches for Wainwright today. But if he looks really good and he seems like he's not out of whack and you can get some benefit by extending him a little bit, I mean, what if his next start he doesn't feel quite as good and he pitches 3 or 4 innings? You may miss out on that chance of getting him into the 6th or the 7th on his next to last spring training start. So I would not be surprised if he goes more than 6. Probably not, but he's been as smooth as you can be this afternoon.
Cardinals have 4 off days in the first month, and Mike Shildt, Mike Maddox, they've talked about that if a starter winds up on his day to pitch and it's an off day, very well could be skipped. And so that's one way to kind of give them a little rest coming off a truncated season. They've also talked about the potential of every once in a while having a sixth starter. And they talked about exactly what you just said, the eye test. So being careful as Edman strikes out, but being careful with pitchers. Yeah, you look at the numbers, you look at the innings, you look at how many pitches thrown, but you're going to see maybe more of the eye test this year than you have in the past.
Yeah, and I think one thing, again, you start with a plan, but then you've got to figure it out, because here's what Mike Schultz said about, how are you going to handle pitchers' innings this year? He said, look, we're doing an unusual season following an unusual season. So there's not a book on this. And so we're going to find out as we go along. I mean, it really is. You're not the standard way of saying, well, how do you feel when you have a shortened spring training? Nobody knows. How do you feel when you've just come off a season where you only played 50 games? And, I mean, no one knows, really, how the body's going to react to that. You can guess. But I don't think it's just the pitching coach. It's the athletic trainers, the strength coach, the performance coaches, and the Cardinals are very big on that. They have a whole department of performance coaches. Their input's going to be incredibly important this year.
1 ball, 1 strike. Goldschmidt 0 for 2 with a ground out and a line out. Fouled back out of play. 1-2 the count. Nolan Arenado at the on deck circle. Carlos Martinez and Taijuan Walker tomorrow. Mets and Cardinals, and we'll come your way at noon. And a base hit.
I think Trey Turner was trying to catch that ball like Bob Uecker was trying to catch a knuckleball. I mean, I don't think he got a good jump on it, because I think the ball whistled from right to left because it was hit so squarely by the Cardinal first baseman. That was a linea right there. So he's not sure which way to go, and there it goes way to the left and eludes him, and I think it's because it was hit so squarely.
It did look to jump and dart to Turner's right, screen left. There's Nolan Arenado, walked back in the 4th. Comes in after the single by Goldschmidt. He's also flied to deep left. So 2 outs, runner at first.
It's one of the nuances of the game, Dan, that we pick up. And, of course, we would, if we had our druthers, rather be at the ballpark. I'd rather be at the ballpark during the year. And that's how we all feel in our world, because, this game has got a lot of particulars to it. And, of course, everybody's adjusting, and we're doing what we can. But we look forward to that day when we can travel again.
Castro robbing Arenado. Nolan's done that to a lot of guys. They turned the trick on him. Now, the sunshine down in Florida. Reminder, it's our Cardinals 50-50 throughout spring training. Cardinals.com/50-50. Half of the pot goes to you. Other half to Cardinals Care and helping kids in our community. We're in the studios here in St. Louis. Rick Horton, Dan McLaughlin. It is a 1-1 game, and it's the top of the lineup. Robles, Turner, Soto for Washington as the 6th inning rolls in. 1-1 our score. Robles showing bunt. It hit him, and they're going to say he's out.
I think that's the right call. I think it actually hit his. I think it hit his bat while he was in fair territory, which I think becomes an extension of you, or it came up and maybe hit his wrist. But he tries to bunt. He's deep in the box, pushes it. It's in front of the plate, and it hits him.
Good call.
Either his hand or the bat while he's out of the box. No argument. I think that is scored a put out by the catcher.
That's what I thought. Closest man to it.
Right. Nice play, Yachty.
2 unassisted. There's Trey Turner. He is 0 for 2. Wainwright has struck out 7. He has allowed 2 hits. He has walked 1. Turner has struck out back in the 1st and grounded out to 2nd.
I think you've noticed something early on. You made the point of Wainwright using the upper part of the strike zone, kind of way the young kids are doing it. The spin rate up in the zone, it does complement his curveball well. You know, he typically likes to throw the sinker and use the bottom part of the plate. But he has been up in the zone, following that pitch behind it with a curveball that's just impossible to pick up.
69-mile-an-hour curveball there by Adam Wainwright.
And a sore back by Trey Turner.
You bet. And a fly ball lifted to right field. Catch made. Yadi and Waino back for at least another go-around. Part of the 2006 champions. Waino was on the mound, closing it out at that time. Yadi behind the plate for 06 and 11. Waino was a big cheerleader. I still get the biggest kick out. I've asked Adam about it too. If you ever go back and watch the David Freese home run, which I've only seen it about 500 times.
Right.
And there's so many great moments with it. Watch Adam Wainwright's reaction in that. He is going crazy in that home run, hopping over the wall of the dugout or the fencing, screaming at the fans, jubilation. It's just one of the great moments in Cardinals history.
I recall vividly having a conversation with Adam Wainwright the year he was hurt, and he decided that he was going to stay on and travel with the team and be a cheerleader and be a coach. And my conversation with him was essentially, that doesn't work. I mean, I really meant that, and I was trying to kind of letting him know from experience that that's a hard thing to do for both you and your teammates, because you're there and you might be kind of flippantly thinking about something, and while somebody's busy focusing and concentrating, and it also becomes kind of frustrating for you because you can't do it. So it doesn't work, but it did. And so he was right about that, and I've told him that before. I said, you know, look, I originally told you that, you know, be careful about this. And I'm still glad I maybe warned him about it, because I'd seen it happen before. Injured players being around almost too much, and that's why they send you home. It's just, it's not good for the team connection.
Yeah.
But Adam wanted to be a part of that team, and he was.
3-1 here on Soto, who is 0 for 2. Little chopper hit up the middle, gloved by DeYoung, and the Nationals go 1-2-3. DeYoung, O'Neill, and Molina for St. Louis. Genesis Cabrera was throwing in the Cardinals pen. We'll see if he comes back out in live action for the 7th, or will it be Adam Wainwright, who's right around 75, 76 pitches today. Second inning for Ross. Good tight breaking pitch. Strike one. The Nationals sat just 3 games out of second place, which would have been an automatic playoff berth a year ago, as DeYoung hits it to third. That's the first out. But they lost 7 straight in late August, early September, and that all but ended their playoff hopes. And remember their championship season? I think they were something like 18-32 at one point.
Right, and then they just caught fire. That fire certainly didn't dissipate in October.
No. That was a great World Series. Astros and the Nationals, and we saw St. Louis native Max Scherzer make Game 7 start. That was in question at that time, and the Nationals have a decision on him to make. He is a free agent to be. Boy, did he look good against the Cardinals. It was about 10 days ago, maybe or so. He's hit 96 on the gun, struck out 7 in 4 innings. Typical Max Scherzer.
And working that game and watching him, he was throwing basically any pitch he wanted, anywhere he wanted, and I could almost see the confusion on his face of which one do I throw now. I mean, he just had so many tools that he was working with. He was dominating.
Here's a 1-1 pitch to O'Neill, and Tyler has walked, stolen a base, single to left.
You know, I like offense. A lot of people, and of course the younger fans, love offense, and I do love offense too. I love seeing home runs and all that, but there's something about an old style National League game where pitchers are throwing strikes, and I think it's more than just talking about offense or no offense. If you actually look at the number of runs that were scored in the 60s and 70s and 80s, it's not really much different now. I mean, it's just about the same, but the point is how they are being scored. And so this is a classic low-scoring game where you need a double to win or get somebody in scoring position. I think that opens up a lot of interest in this type of game. So I like them both. I like the 1-1 and the 8-5 game.
That's just the third Cardinals strikeout today.
That's the other thing. Very few. The ball's been put in play, so there's action. There's movement.
Major League Baseball would love to see the game go back to that, and it's not an indictment on the players that are playing the game.
No.
It's about, we want to showcase how great these athletes are.
That's right. And the evolution of the strong player.
Yes.
That can hit the ball out anywhere has changed pitching. And the strong pitcher that can throw 100 miles an hour up in the zone. Different game.
Yachty flies to center. We're tied 1-1. We head to the 7th.
Yeah, I think.
Genesis Cabrera is the new pitcher for the Cardinals. Ortega takes over for Molina behind the plate. Mendoza, he is at first. Moroff at second. Sosa at short. John Nagowski is in left field. Bell, Castro, Schwarber due up for the Nationals. And let's hear from Alex Reyes. Alex has had a very good camp for the St. Louis Cardinals. Bell now switching around to the right side. And he had a chance to catch up with Jim Hayes.
Alex Reyes has had a really, really impressive camp. Alex, when you look at what you're able to do, I'm sure health is the number one thing. You feel strong, you feel healthy. But what's working for you? What are the things that you're happy about in terms of the way you're pitching right now?
You hit it where it is. I mean, health is definitely the number one thing, and it's just having the confidence and going out there and executing pitches. I worked really hard this offseason to simplify some things, and it's been working out, and it's just been attacking the zone with all my stuff.
It's been really impressive to watch your command. Danny Mack noticed during one of the games, and you talked about simplifying things. He said it looked like you may have changed your delivery, shortened it up a little bit. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I mean, what I did was I changed my hand positioning. I would usually come set with my hands like closer to my belt. Now they're more closer to the letters of the Cardinals logo. And it's just for, a more comfortable, more compact. I just feel like there's less movement, and it gets me in a good position to execute pitches.
Right now you're working out of the bullpen, and I know you because we've been together for a little while. You're going to do whatever they want you to do. But do you have a preference in terms of long-term bullpen or being in the starting rotation? I know you're going to do whatever they ask you to do now, and right now it's the bullpen. But do you have a preference for yourself long-term?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I want to be a starter. I came in the spring looking for that. We came to a conclusion that, that there was going to be an innings limit. So, next year, that's definitely something I'm striving forward to I'm looking forward to doing, and just going out there and getting the work. The workload as a starter is definitely different than it is in the pen. So, we're being smart with that and just, going how the season goes.
Yeah, they say that they want to target around 100 innings for you just to make sure that there's not any sort of overwork going on. In terms of your approach when you're coming out of the bullpen, being a starter and what you throw or what you're looking to get done, does it change when you're a starter as opposed to what you're doing now in a bullpen in terms of the way you approach it?
No, I actually feel like last year and, going into the off season, throwing out of the pen, I feel like it helped me. It just gave me that mentality of, attacking the zone. When you come out of the pen, you really only got a few pitches to play with, and, you throw what you have that day. So I think it's helped me, and it'll help me in the future.
In terms of injuries and obstacles you've had to overcome, there have been a ton of them. And just talking to your teammates, the coaching staff, is that you never wavered, you put in the work, and here you are healthy again. Where does that come from, the ability to sort of take the negative out of the way and just focus on moving forward? Where does that come from? Because I don't think every athlete has that to that extent.
Definitely my parents, they kind of we kind of grew up with that mindset of you know, not dwelling on the past and thinking about the future, and also just my hunger for the game. You know, I want to be great at pitching, and I want to be great for a long time, and that's something I'll never stop working towards. And you know, obviously my daughter, I'm watching her fight. Those are just things that help me every day to wake up and understand, you know, I have a goal, and it's not going to be easy to get there, and whatever is thrown in front of me, I'm going to just run straight through it.
Last thing, then we're going to let you go. You've seen regional cable journalism done at a high level by myself, but it's nothing new to you. You have a brother who is in the TV business. He works at MLB Network. Tell us about him.
Yeah, my oldest brother, Tomas Reyes. I mean, you know, my brothers, they pretty much, they taught me baseball. You know, we were the little kids in the backyard playing, you know, 3-2 count. I was pitching, they were hitting. So, you know, they play a big part in my career and my life. And I mean, it's huge for him. You know, he loves baseball, and for him to be able to work in the MLB office in Jersey is pretty cool for him.
Very cool. And it's also very cool to watch you healthy and doing your thing. Alex, thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Great stuff with the Cat, Jim Hayes. Can't wait to see Jimmy on opening day. He'll be part of our telecast. He's been doing a lot of Zooms on our broadcast, our spring training games. And Alex Reyes working out of the pen exclusively, it looks like, at the start of this season. We'll see if it ever moves to the rotation. But a lot of things to pick from that interview.
Yeah, there's a lot of things, and we think, see Alex Reyes pitch in this game. This, of course, is Genesis Cabrera, who's had the inning kind of fall apart on him because the ball hit second base and an error, and really kind of got him in trouble. Then the Schwarber double. So you could say this inning not necessarily his fault, and we will see Alex. But I really sense you got a determined guy in Reyes from that interview.
No doubt. Base hit into center. And Schwarber stopping at third base as Garcia drives in a run.
Castro stopped at third base on the Schwarber double and had to be taken out of the game. I wonder, he looked like he was maybe grabbing his side, and there may be an issue with Castro. We'll have to wait and hear on that. Here, a ground ball single up the middle, just a seeing eye hit. So it's turned into an ugly inning for Cabrera, but you can't really say he's pitched poorly here other than the Schwarber double.
No doubt. So 3-1 our score. A couple of runs here in the 7th inning for the Nationals. And a visit, Mike Maddox and Cabrera. Now a quick word about a big change coming to our network.
Your favorite teams have a new network. Fox Sports Midwest is becoming Bally Sports Midwest. March 31st.
3-1 our score. Runners at first and third. Nobody out. Top of the 7th. Cabrera in relief of Adam Wainwright, who allowed 2 hits in 6 innings of work. Struck out 7. Gave up a home run to Schwarber. That was the only damage done against Adam, who was penciled in for the opening day assignment at home at Busch Stadium.
Well, he certainly earned that, and you know, you could almost say this late in spring training, who's your best pitcher right now and who could get an opening day start? You could almost say Wainwright could. Of course, that's going to be Jack Flaherty, who has also earned it with his young career and his promise. But boy, you almost have part of you that says I wouldn't mind seeing Adam Wainwright either.
And Adam Wainwright was your best pitcher a year ago. He's one of the main reasons you saw the Cardinals get into postseason play. There were no fans in the stands last year, and people ask me all the time, like you, what are your favorite moments at Busch Stadium, and for you as a player, as a broadcaster? And I go back to last year and his complete game on that Sunday afternoon, his birthday, Yadi's 2000th game, and they go the distance together. It was just a game you don't forget when the Cardinals needed him most.
My favorite game last year was we had a doubleheader going on that we were doing from the ballpark, an away game, and on the field, just coming off of COVID, were Paul DeYoung and Yadier Molina, who were playing a simulated game, and Matthew Liberatore had come up from Springfield, or I guess over from Springfield, to throw against those two guys. So I was watching, I basically saw a triple header. And I was tempted because one's to my left and the screens are to my right, and kind of the way we are logistically doing games remotely. And my eye was drawn to the field. I go back to that, Dan. I mean, I just can't wait for us to be back really connected on the field with the players, with the coaches, and get the real scoop from what's going on with them.
No doubt.
And you almost felt that day, and it was just 3 guys with a simulated game, but it was really kind of special to get to watch that.
Just a bit low, and a walk. So 15 pitches this inning for Cabrera, and the bases are loaded, nobody out. I think this goes back to what you were talking about earlier, Ricky, that and Ross will hit for himself now with a 2-run lead, and they're trying to stretch him out. So
how do you get out of it?
How do you get out of an inning?
Yeah, we saw Wainwright, the inning that I talked about, mentioned Wainwright has a way of getting out. Well, what did he do? He froze Avila on a curveball and got out of the inning. Now we'll see what Cabrera can do. Again, you have to realize, if you're Cabrera, maybe I didn't cause all of this mess I'm dealing with right now, because the ball hit off a bag and an error was made at first. There should be 2 outs, nobody on. That's how the inning should have started, but it didn't. So what do you do to get out of it? Well, you can't give up a cookie to Schwarber, and the things have just snowballed from there. Find a way.
So Ross may be their 5th starter. They want to stretch him out, and that's why he is still in this game, and you don't see a pinch hitter. And they'll go ahead and punch him out. So that'll be the first strikeout for Cabrera. Cruz begins to throw in the Cardinal pen. 18 pitches and counting now for Cabrera. Keep an eye on that.
Cruz has thrown about 30 innings in the bullpen this spring.
Has he ever?
He's up a lot. And both he and Roel Ramirez understand that their job has been to kind of get out of innings in case, the pitcher doesn't kind of finish what he's set out to do. The pitch count gets high. But I think Tommy Parsons started out that way this spring, and he took advantage of the opportunity.
That is the guy that has caught my attention from day one. He was asked to clean up innings. Now he is a guy that doesn't walk many, and that's appealing. I mean, you get a guy that throws strikes, ground balls. He gets a lot of those.
He's sneaky fast too. He doesn't have the big time fastball, but it's sneaky. It gets on you in a hurry.
So if indeed they have to go to the minor leagues at some point this year, I don't think there's a lot of hesitation in saying, hey, Tommy Parsons, let's give him a shot. And that's what you get in spring training, right? Somebody comes out of nowhere and impresses you. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Or a John Nagowski doing what he's done with a .533 on base percentage, and the Cardinals actually have him in left field, and I want to see this.
Yeah.
He is a natural first baseman, but there's a guy named Goldie there, so you're probably not going to get a lot of playing time.
I wouldn't think so.
Can you play the outfield? And John was telling me that he actually came into this camp having dropped some weight, realizing, okay, here's the depth chart. If I'm going to make this team, how am I going to make it? I got to play a little of the outfield. And he's done that. He did that a little bit at Florida State. And I got a hit. And he's done the hitting part. Center field. That'll back up Carlson, shading from the sun. The catch is made. His throw will go to third. It's cut off. Run scores. That's Kyle Schwarber. I don't know if they let that go. Do you think there's a play at third?
It sure looked that way in real time, and we'll have to maybe see on the replay whether or not there was a shot at getting Garcia at third. But I like the mechanics either way of Dylan Carlson. He gets behind the ball and comes up throwing, and he hits the cutoff man. Boy, that might have been close. And you can tell by the look of Arenado as he looked towards Sosa that, just maybe he thought that there would be a shot at getting him at third. But a great throw, good mechanics by Dylan Carlson either way.
He had a couple of outfield assists last year. Pitching change for St. Louis here in the top of the 7th inning. It's 4-1. The adult puffy vest giveaway is coming up at the ballpark. That's when Washington will be in St. Louis. Cardinals.com/promotions presented by Bayer. And there are giveaways every game in April. You got to be careful with that little guy. He's not sure if he wants to go underneath the bleachers. Do I hang out with mom and dad? I don't know. Underneath the bleachers seems like more fun. Oh, nice hands there. We got a rundown. That's more off, and now they got the runner hung up between third and home. And the tag applied. So Cruz comes in and says, that's how you do it.
Well done.
That's how you draw it up.
Well done defensively by the Cardinals.
Be careful.
And that young man.
You got it. Time to stretch. It's 4-1. What do you think about what you're trying to accomplish in spring training? Get guys ready and then work on plays like this.
Well, this is well done by the Cardinals. They get a good bounce off of the batter. Turner goes right back to the catcher Ortega. So Avila is caught dead to rights between first and second. The right thing to do, run him back to the bag, wait for the runner at third to commit. And that's what he did. One throw to Arenado, 2 throws to Ortega. The whole idea is minimize the number of throws, and that's what the Cardinals did. Perfectly done.
So Ross pitching in his 3rd inning here. Bottom of the 7th rolls in. Dylan Carlson. Fly to center. Grounded into a fielder's choice with runners in scoring position. And that was back in the 4th. 0 for 2 today. 4-1 our score. 1 ball, 1 strike. You mentioned it yesterday that Dylan Carlson reminds you of Carlos Beltran, and of course you doing your homework as you always do. You had to go back and said, okay, he reminds me of Beltran. It's not just the number 3. It's not just switch hitter. It's not just outfielder. So you went back and looked at some video. What did you see?
Yeah, well, it's something interesting on the finish of their swing. I mean, they both have a sweeping swing where they don't necessarily open their hips up when most hitters do. And so it looks very similar in terms of the finish of the swing. Of course, they both wear number 3. But you hit on the right word yesterday, and that's they're just quiet at the plate. And Beltran, very quiet both defensively and offensively. And I think that's Carlson, too, patient hitters. They both take a lot of pitches. And so there are just some similarities to me. I watched a Carlos Beltran highlight video, and there's a lot of them.
What a player.
Oh, my goodness. And what a gentleman, too, to be around.
Big time.
The bat angle's not the same. The leg kick's not the same. But the way they finish their swing looks similar to me.
3-2 the count. Josh Harrison now at second base. Former Pirate. Stevenson in center for the Nationals. And Carlson hits it down the right field line, but foul.
Now you don't know all the homework I did as far as looking at swings, Dan. I got an old video of you at fantasy camp, and I was breaking down.
No kidding.
Yeah, breaking down your swing and kind of the way you start and the way you finish. And, you know, it reminded me of, you know, I guess I'd say maybe a right-handed Ted Williams. I mean,
no kidding.
Oh, yeah.
No kidding.
Oh, yeah.
Really no surprise, but you know, I've really been working on things to finish high with my swing.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a ground ball to Harrison.
The splendid splinter from the right side.
I've never been called that. Called a lot of things, but not that.
In my fully fabricated story there, the reason I thought of Ted Williams, I'm not sure, you know, he's known for having the best swing ever. And, you know, that's so subjective. But he really was a phenomenal player.
You ever read the book, his book on hitting?
I've not.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
Well, he talks, I know he talks about launch angle in it.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, people don't realize when he was in the World Series, they actually shifted against Ted Williams.
That's right.
So there was the shift before the 2000s.
And we used to use the word shading. So you'd shade him to right or shade him on the left side of the infield. Well, I mean, the shade's gotten bigger.
Well, I think an example here would be there's a shift on the infield. The center fielder shading Lane Thomas towards right center.
Yeah, and he's shading him to right center because the numbers say if the ball is elevated by Thomas, it's more apt to go to right center than left center.
A swinging bunt. Ross off the mound, and they throw it away. And Thomas will wind up at second base. So base hit and an error.
You know, we love Tehran. Pennington Tehran, the Cardinals' extra coach. He's a catching coach, but he did not help out his catcher there, who apparently got hit with that ball that was overthrown first base. I saw a reaction there. He's trying to warm up the pitcher, and this pitcher airmails one into the Cardinals bullpen. It gets past, and boom. A little late there, KT, on the protection, although you don't necessarily see that coming.
I think it got our backup catcher there. I think it's Heineman.
I think it's Tyler Heineman, right?
And it got him on the right part of the body, the backside.
Well, I guess you can't really protect anyway, because if you catch the ball, you're not allowed to do that. He's got to get out of the way,
That's right.
So he did his job and just kind of gave some vulnerability to Heineman. Matt Carpenter, boy, he's had a rough spring. And you just keep waiting for him to find that timing. Cardinals with very few left-handed bats in Florida. Forget on the normal 24, 25, 26-man roster or 40-man roster. There's just not many lefties down there, period.
No. And a 1-0 pitch to Carpenter. Carpenter 1 for 29 this spring. 13 strikeouts, 7 walks. He's had a lot of plate appearances. Cardinals trying to get him on track. He's had 36 of them in spring training. And look at this. They're going with, let's see, is that about 5 infielders? Nope. The left fielder's still out there. They do have the shift on. But there's a lot of guys with red tops.
Yeah,
Nationals and Cardinals.
Yeah, the Cardinals have been saying from their front office, and Mike Schultz says it regularly, that Matt Carpenter has been probably hurt more by the shift than any player in baseball. Think about that base hit between first and second. And he would have so many of those in his career, but they're all outs now.
The 2-1 pitch. And Carpenter hits it into the shift.
That's probably a base hit. The second baseman's not playing in shallow right field.
Thomas advancing from second to third. Max Moroff. Mike Schultz made a point to talk about this young man's camp, who does have major league experience. They like what they've seen out of him. It's been limited, but they do like it. We saw him on that play, too, in the throw by Ortega to start the rundown.
Just catching it.
Yeah, soft hands to make that play.
Glad you went back to that. And a lot of good things done well on that play defensively for the Cardinals, but it started with him just catching the ball.
And a home run earlier in spring that was in Port St. Lucie against the Mets. So 2 outs, runner at third. Cardinals trailing 4-1 here in the bottom of the 7th.
I think about Max Moroff being one of those players when we played in Williamsport. Cardinals were playing that a special game with the Pirates at the Little League World Series place, and they had players from each team. Moroff was one of those guys that had played in that series as a kid, and Randall Grichuk and Lance Lynn on the Cardinals side. And I had gone to camp there, so somehow I finagled a little back. I went on the backfields there of Williamsport. We actually went to the dorms with Grichuk and Lance, and met some of these kids from other countries that were there playing in the Little League World Series. Really a fun moment for me to relive, having been there at age 12. But Grichuk, Lynn, and Moroff all played there at age 12.
Pretty cool. 1-2 pitch. I think it's great for baseball as we try to expose the game in a positive way as much as we can.
100%.
And we're trying to get younger kids to play the game.
Would love to have been able to have the Field of Dreams game and been a part of that last year. The Cardinals were supposed to play the White Sox there.
Well, Tommy Pham was buying snow cones for everybody.
Yes, he was.
Remember that?
Yes.
Tommy Pham, a member of the Padres this year.
Yeah. He was like a magnet. I mean, for some reason, the kids from whatever country, they all wanted to be around Tommy Pham.
Well, he's got that kind of personality,
Joe
too.
Torre was right in front of me, and I believe Rob Manfred was sitting literally right in front of where I was sitting. Tommy Pham's a couple rows back, and there were several other, big fly players, but everybody wanted to be around Tommy Pham.
Yeah. He's on a pretty good team this year. Padres.
I'll say.
Boy, they made a lot of moves in the offseason. Blake Snell, Yu Darvish, the huge contract for Fernando Tatis Jr.
Somehow they were printing money in San Diego, in New York, even Toronto, and the White Sox, all extremely active this winter.
3-2 pitch. Hits it the other way. That's down and a base hit. And Moroff takes a wide turn around first base. Thomas scores. Cuts a lead to 4-2. Good piece of hitting to go down and get that.
Well done. Well, you have an opportunity to score. You just need to hit with a couple of outs to make it happen. And Moroff comes through, scores Lane Thomas.
There's John Nagowski, one of the talks of camp for the Cardinals.
I have not seen him overmatched yet.
Do you see a path that he can make this club?
Boy.
It's a numbers game.
Are you asking my head or my heart?
Well, I get it, yeah. All he has done is hit. .533, the on-base percentage. You know, you think about in a regular season, late innings, what do we love to see? That hard, competitive at bat, tough out. The cliches that you mentioned. But somebody that doesn't strike out very often or can walk or puts the ball in play. And he does those things.
And he's 28 years old. He's not 20. So it's not like, well, you know, he's a young kid and he'll have his chance. I mean, this may be his chance in 2020. I would say I absolutely see a path to him helping this team offensively in 2020. Now, whether it's on opening day or not, I think that's a tough hill to climb because of a lot of variables. I mean, you have to have a decision on Justin Williams that we talked about. You've got several other outfielders that are in the mix. I mean, it's just, and you got a guy playing first base who's going to play first base.
Mm-hmm. And the 1-1 is slowly hit towards short. Force play at second. Moroff, the two-out base hit to left. Cardinals pick up a run, and it's 4-2 as we head to the 8th. Cardinals Magazine, Steve Zesh, Gabe Kiley, and the crew. Stan McNeil, they do a great job with this magazine. Make sure you subscribe and pick up the publication. It's 345-9000, all the behind-the-scenes photos, interviews, and these are stories you don't get anywhere else. Cardinals.com/magazine. Really is a great magazine, and they've got the wonderful late great Bob Gibson on the cover.
You mentioned the writers, and they all do a great job in the publication of it. But one of the things that always draws me, and not that I can't read, Dan, but I like the pictures.
Yep.
I mean, honestly, the photos that they have really are top notch. I mean, they do a great job, the whole team, of getting good shots that really show the action, and they just the whole printing of that magazine is done first class.
Here's Alex Reyes. Really enjoyed the visit with Jim Hayes a couple of innings ago with Alex over Zoom. 5 2/3 thus far this spring. Here's Turner. Good fastball at 97. Would it shock you, Rick Horton, if I said to you this is the ninth year in the organization for Alex Reyes?
So there's only one reason that it doesn't shock me, is because you told me between the break that it was. And I was shocked at that time. But when you told me this time, I was a little less shocked.
Understood.
But to your point, pretty amazing.
It really is.
And you think of all that he's had to deal with. You also see the high handset, by the way, that he talked about with Jim during that Zoom interview, and that makes all kinds of sense. If you're down low, it can make you a little long in your delivery. If you set at the belt, your arm is going to have a longer arc, perhaps, to get to the right spot. And as you're getting ready to land, if your arm drags, your command is off. So he's shortened up that arm arc just a tad by stopping a little higher. He could start a little higher, get it there, get it up in the air, and then that downhill trajectory which pitchers want.
Jordan Hicks has done that as well. 3-2 the count. We're in the 8th inning. The 3-2 pitch. And he walked him. Last time out for Reyes was the first real hiccup he's had in spring.
Was a blip for him, definitely. So there's the hands, the high set, and his arm starts higher so he can get it up quicker. And again, you need to pitch downhill. If you feel like you're pitching uphill and pushing the baseball, everything's flat and you don't have the force behind it. So the idea is you have to be back enough with your lower half where your arm is in position to have you throw downhill.
It's a matchup I was hoping would possibly take place late in this game, and it has. Juan Soto, Alex Reyes. Soto has grounded out a couple of times. Once back to Wainwright, the other time to short, and struck out looking in the 4th. Pitch that he did not like. Trey Turner, the runner at first base. Shift on the right side.
So 9 years in the organization, or this will be the 9th. Alex Reyes turns just 27.
Exactly.
During the season. There's the difference. I mentioned Nogowski's 28. And the difference between signing out of high school and signing out of college.
0-1 pitch. One ball, one strike. You know, Reyes talked with Jim in that visit about the mindset of being in the bullpen. You did this role. You're a closer, setup guy. You started. But trying to be efficient, the bulldog mentality of getting outs efficiently coming out of the pen. Not to say you don't want to do it as a starter, but that's a nasty changeup there.
90 miles an hour changeup. And that's the difference with Alex Reyes. I mean, there are times where you have players that will start and relieve because that's what you need. You need to have a guy that's probably your 10th or 11th pitcher on your staff do that. But Alex Reyes, you know, as his sights setting on being the #1 pitcher on your team. And so you want to make sure he's in the spot where he can give you maximum value. That's different than kind of a jack-of-all-trade type pitcher as I was, or an infielder that's kind of well, I can play anywhere and help you out, as opposed to every day making an impact at one particular position.
So we've heard 100 innings.
Yes.
You know, we'd like to get Alex Reyes 100 innings.
How do you get there?
As a reliever in this day and age, if he's pitching in high leverage, I'm not sure you can. The 2-2.
I can foresee him pitching everywhere from medium to high leverage. So I think there'll be games where you do want him pitching the 6th and 7th inning. You know, I always think about the buildup of Matt Morris when he came back after an injury, and he of course we showed him earlier, one of the guys on the ballot for potentially for the Cardinals Hall of Fame. I thought they handled him really well, making him a 2 or 3 inning pitcher while he was coming back from his injury, and it set him up to be able to be back in the rotation the next year. I fully expect Alex Reyes to be a starter in 2022, but how do you get him those 100 innings most with the best bang for your buck this season?
Right. That was an interesting play. That was a 3-2 changeup, so he had Soto out in front, and they started the runner Turner. If not, they might have been able to turn 2. Here's Josh Bell. Singled off the bag at second base back in the 7th. Came around to score. Struck out a couple of times, too.
Boy, Soto's been befuddled today, and you don't see that very often.
No.
I mentioned he doesn't have an RBI this spring.
When I think of great young players, and I think most people look at Fernando Tatis as being maybe the future face of baseball, if not right now. Obviously, Mike Trout has been sensational. Great player.
Acuna would be in that list.
Another one. And you don't hear Soto as much, and I'm not sure why.
Batting champion last year.
Exactly. Or maybe I'm just not listening to the right people.
Maybe.
And they are talking about him.
Well, no, I don't. I think he's, you know, I'm not going to say he's undervalued, but I don't think he's probably getting that kind of play on a national level that you would think he deserves. I'd say the same thing about Trey Turner. He's not in that same elite level, but he's a really good player.
And Bell launches one into center. It's well hit. It's at the wall, and it is off the wall. Bell will trot into second base, trotting home Turner. That makes it 5-2.
Not sure if Lane Thomas got far enough to the wall to properly see where that ball was going to go. I'm not saying that's an easy play at all for him. He's a good outfielder. He can play right field, center field, left field, and this ball is sky high, and he looks up and he stops right about there and slows down, maybe another foot to go. He actually gets a glove on the ball. I wonder if he had just maybe a little bit more proximity to the wall if he makes that play. Again, not even remotely an easy play to make.
Now time is called as Ortega wants to talk it over with Reyes. Keyboom. Boy, the Nationals have been waiting for this young man to kind of take it and run with it.
Right.
And he hasn't done it.
No, not yet. Well, they penciled him in as the guy. I mean, he's their next big player. Not a good spring, 171.
We give enough attention to the loss for the Nationals of Rendon. What a player he was.
Oh, yeah.
Third baseman now with the Angels.
Well, I think that's why they let him go. They were able to let him go because they thought the Keyboom would just step right in and be a star.
Five to our score, top of the eighth. What you take away from this game from the Cardinals' perspective, at least one of the storylines, the pitching of Adam Wainwright, sensational again today. Pitch number 17 for Reyes. And now time is called.
Keyboom, the #1 pick for the Nationals in 2016. And, you know, you have a lot of young players who had a kind of a blip of last season. What 2020 has done for the development of players is clearly not good. He hit just 202 with the Nationals last season, 128 the year before. Not a lot of at-bats, but still 2 home runs and a cumulative average of 181 over parts of 2 seasons.
And the 1-1 pitch. And a pickoff thrown into center field. More than likely that'll bring the infield in with 1 out here in the top of the 8th. Runner at third.
Boy, you've seen a big drop off in this game from Wainwright in his start to the last few innings. It's just a different game defensively. Now, I will say that most of the games that I've seen down in Florida, and been to almost all of them, I mean, certainly the home ones and some of the away ones, the extra players have done a really good job of not kind of just holding the tent. I mean, they've kept up their part of the bargain. In fact, a lot of games the Cardinals have come back late in games because of the offense of Hurst and Lars Nootbaar and Mendoza and Rondon and Moroff. I mean, guys that come in the game, they've held their own. But the defense clearly a little different the last couple of innings.
Krasinski, lefty, getting loose in the Cardinal pen. And that's strike 1. This is Stevenson trying to make their club as potentially a 4th outfielder. Runner at third and 2 down. Curveball in the dirt. One ball, 1 strike. Mentioned some of the teams that spent a lot of money this offseason or were active in free agency and trades. Cardinals made the big deal for Arenado, and it came in a flurry. It was also same week that they brought back Yachty, brought back Waino.
Good week. Really good week.
Heck of a week. But the NL Central as a whole really didn't do a lot. Colt Wong signed with Milwaukee. There's a good changeup. Talked about the Cubs letting Lester walk, Schwarber. some big decisions for them coming up. They're going to have about 2/3 of their roster on the final year of their deals. And I would think from a management perspective, that's not easy, because some guys are saying, I'm playing for a contract. Are you playing team baseball? Are you know what I mean? It's not easy. It's human nature. The Pirates are in a full-blown rebuild there. They traded Bell, obviously, to these Nationals. There's Lane Thomas to make the catch in center. That's to add to their lead. And it's 5-2. This Bud's for you by Great Southern Bank, understanding what really matters. And by the Hyundai Spring Upgrade event going on now. Hurry in and get the upgrade you deserve. 5-2. Nolan Arenado changes for the Nationals. Yasmani Tomas at first base. Jordy Mercer, former Pirate, at short, and Parra now takes over in right.
Interesting that Arenado's getting 4 at-bats in this game. All the players in front of him and below him have been taken out.
And a ground ball hit to Keyboom at third. Arenado is out.
Well, he key-booted it, but he had a chance to make the play anyway.
Stayed with it. Edmundo Sosa out of options for the Cardinals, so either he breaks camp north or potentially winds up with another team or in the minor leagues.
Hasn't really found his streak here this spring training that we saw last spring training. We saw a different player in Edmundo that you know, we've kind of been around him, Dan, since he was a young player.
That's right.
In the minor leagues, and just love the fact that he's made the developments and gotten more of a look, but he got stronger last year. But this year he just hasn't seemed to get on track with his timing at the plate.
A ball and a strike with 1 out here in the home half of the 8th. 5-2 Washington.
I remember him from step camp when you and I went over and chatted with all of the young players about what to expect from the broadcasters, the media, the fans, and all that, part of the assimilation process that they were doing at the time with step camp.
I missed that.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting what goes on in the future with instructional league / step camp. It's almost as if step camp is going on now, by the way. With the guys that were sent down, and talking to Gary LaRocque about that, it's not organized precisely the same way, but you've got some kind of teaching time perhaps with the guys who've been optioned. Of course, they're still there, but there's no other minor league players there.
2-2 pitch. And Sosa got a piece, and they're going to say he held on to it. Looked like it hit the dirt. And we'll see if they're going to say that hit the dirt. Sosa's still alive. We talk so much about trying to cover innings at the big league level. You had a completely wiped out minor league season. So, piggybacking, 6-man rotation, you got to wonder if that's going to be part of the plans in the minor leagues.
A wiped out minor league system with 60 less minor league players, at least in the Cardinals organization. Right. They let 60 players go because they have less teams now.
Realignment with all that.
You're right.
The 2-2.
The Memphis team, the Cardinals AAA team, are now part of the AAA East Southeast Division, and I don't know how I'm going to have that just roll off my tongue, but it's not the same alignment clearly that it was in the past. And Major League Baseball stepping in with some of those cities that lost their affiliated teams, but they're still going to have baseball there. But it's just going to be different. Major League development programs going on. They're going to have showcases for the draft, and they're going to have kind of what football does, where you have a little combine, where you have people come to a combine and they'll test you out in other ways other than just playing on the field. So that'll be interesting to see how that evolves.
3-2, grounded left side. Keyboom fields this one cleanly, and that's out number 2. This Capriati telecast presented by the authority of the Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cardinals. I got to wonder about independent baseball, if more teams will dip into that market, try to find players with fewer minor league situations across the country. Here's Mendoza. And a fly ball into center field. Stevenson there to make the catch, and that'll send us to the ninth. 5-2 Washington. Sports Midwest presented by Mid-America Chevy Dealers. The Mets and the Cardinals. Carlos Martinez, Taijuan Walker. Mets and Cardinals tomorrow will come your way at noon. Ryan Helsley, new pitcher. And Cardinals told him, okay, in the offseason, stretch out, might be a starter. And then he got to camp, and it's like, no, you're in the bullpen. So he knows. He is a bullpen guy for at least 2021. And a valuable one, too.
No doubt. And he has a big upside, has a big arm, and will be one of those guys. You think about the number of Cardinals who have a chance of getting a save in 2020. I still think there'll be 6 or 7 or maybe more guys that will have saves before it's said and done. And Mike Schilt was asked again today, who's your closer? And he said, don't know. And he didn't say don't care, but kind of. I mean, it's going to evolve.
You have options.
Yeah, that's right.
I think it depends on, how they use Hicks, especially in the first month or two.
Yeah.
Does Alex Reyes maybe find himself in that role more so than others? Matchups, who's available, could change daily.
Could see Gallegos closing out games. Could see Cody Whitley closing out games. Ryan
I could
Helsley.
see Andrew Miller.
Yeah, Andrew Miller. And so, again, situationally, and who's pitching well at the time.
It's Josh Harrison at the plate. And he pops it up. Boroff is called off by Mendoza and makes the catch. I always liked Josh Harrison. Thought he was a heck of a player.
No doubt. He really began as a utility player, and I got to meet him because he was related to one of my favorite teammates ever, John Shelby, who I played with the Dodgers. And so he asked, T-Bone asked me to pass along a hello to Josh and say hi to him at the batting cage. Just a delightful guy. So I've just really kind of had a heart for him watching him play, and he just got better and better. I mean, becoming an all-star. Went from utility guy, kind of super utility guy, to all-star.
He was a former Cub at one point before he was with the Pirates, and the Cubs let him go.
Yeah.
So here's Parra, who spent last year in Japan. So he was a big part, as Ricky mentioned earlier in our telecast, of their championship run. And this is another player I always have liked.
Yeah.
Good player. Hits it the other way. That's Rondon at third base. Took over for Arenado. Out number 2. So Ryan Helsley has gotten the first 2 here in the top of the ninth. In a 5-2 game.
Really think about how this inning has started for Helsley versus how the inning started for Genesis Cabrera. Actually about the same. 2 balls not hit that hard. And Helsley's got 2 outs and he's dominating. And Cabrera had 2 runners on and he was in stress. The life of a pitcher, Danny.
You got it. Here is Ross. So Joe Ross will be asked to get them through this ball game and pick up a victory. JT Realmuto of the Phillies will make his Grapefruit League debut. Tell you what, this National League East is going to be one tough division.
There's no off day, really. I mean, there's no, and you never want to say a team is an off day because it's the big leagues, and whether you're going to Pittsburgh or wherever you're going, they may have a down year. You would suspect Pittsburgh would, but you still got to play. You still got to bring it. They've got good players in their lineup that can hurt you. I mean, and a pitcher, like Stephen Brault, what he did to the Cardinals at the end of the year last year. I mean, just couldn't hit him, and so that could happen on a given day. But for the Nationals, they've got high level. I mean, they're going to see a guy from the Mets who's got great stuff every day.
Yep.
Atlanta, a tough lineup every day.
5-2 our score. Final hope for the Cardinals coming up. Player of the game, presentation of Budweiser, and it is the starter for the Cardinals. Adam Wainwright, 6 innings, 2 hits, 1 run. It was the home run hit by Schwarber, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts, very efficient, 76 pitches for old Uncle Charlie.
In command throughout. Wainwright at times unhittable. 7 punch-outs in 6 innings. High strikeout rate this spring training, very few walks.
Running out of games to see Uncle Charlie here in spring training.
Yeah, that's right.
And Ross delivers a strike. Jim Jackson there on the left. Mike Claiborne in the middle. John Rooney on the right. You'll be back with them tomorrow night, Ricky.
I'll be back with them by the end of the night. I'll actually be with you tomorrow during the day, but then I'll be headed back tomorrow night. And we've got a few more spring training radio games to do. And it's been a good spring. Mentioned this yesterday, Dan, but the weather has been terrific. And I'm sure those guys miss me. Can you just see it on their faces?
No doubt. Where'd Ricky go?
They might not notice I'm not there.
0-2 pitch to Ortega. High chopper. Keyboom. Bare hands. Throws. Got him. Well, he's been tested here the last couple of innings.
Sure has. And that's the ball you just want to come down if you're Keyboom and say, come on, hurry. Come on, gravity, let's go. I got to make this play. And he does it with the bare hand. And one quick motion. And despite Ortega calling himself safe, he's ruled out.
It was the only play for him. Do or die with that bare hand. Here's Justin Williams. 1 out. Nobody on. 5-2 our score. Fastball and a strike.
Boy, Ross has looked good. Ball's jumping out of his hand. He's had good command.
So his pitch count up to 60. Piggybacking here behind John Lester, who made the start. Lester went 3 2/3. 1-1 the count.
You picked up on it early, but the break that Ross has, I mean, we saw it with the reliever as well, McCowan, early, but Ross has shown some very good off-speed deliveries.
2 balls and a strike. For fans that are just tuning in, how would you evaluate the camp of Justin Williams? It's a big one for him.
It's been good in the sense that he's had good exit velocity when the ball jumps off his bat. There just hasn't been enough hits, and we really haven't maybe seen him enough.
And Williams hits a rope down into the corner. And Justin on his way to second base. He'll stop there. Justin Williams with a 1-out double. Boy, he turned on that pitch, and that's what you're talking about, ball jumping off his bat.
It did, and that quick bat speed. There are times where his swing can get a little long, but it's not long there. He just drops the bat head and lines it into right field, and I don't know what the exit velocity on that is. I'd say upper 90s probably. And Mike Schilt talking about that today before the game, about the velocity coming off the bat of Williams has gotten their attention.
So the 1-out double. Shift on the left side. Here's Lane Thomas. Does have a base hit today, 1 for 3.
You know, there are doubles, Dan, and there are doubles. And if you're Justin Williams, that double is something that might be important to him. You get an opportunity, you do something with it, you get more.
I'm not sure if they're going to call that a ball, a strike, a dead ball, as a baseball made its way onto the field from the Nats bullpen. I think that's what Thomas is asking. Are we counting this, or what are we doing? Got away from the bullpen and right to the third baseman Keyboom. He's been tested every which way.
We had a game early in the week where someone was warming up and struggling, and there was about 5 of them that came down. And at some point, and I recall a moment where I was in those shoes warming up in a spring training game, and I noticed Whitey Herzog looking down towards the bullpen, and I thought I better slow my roll here.
Just make sure it gets to the glove, right?
No more change-ups in the dirt.
No. I want to say the count is 2 balls, no strikes.
Or thereabouts.
Yeah. Harrison, the second baseman, on the shortstop side of the bag behind Williams. Room on the right side. And that's taken for a ball. And the 3-0. Austin Dean at the on-deck circle for St. Louis. Three-one pitch. Grounder left side. Key boom again. Looks back to runner Williams and gets Thomas by a step, 2 away. And the batter will be Austin Dean. With the pitch count nearing 70, this could be it for Ross. Davey Martinez will go to his bullpen to try to get that final out.
Could tell he was going out because the first baseman came over and had nothing to say.
Dakota Backus pitched at Indiana State. He's a Sycamore, Missouri Valley Conference, and he's from Cardinal Country, Rick Horton.
Yeah, Moline, Illinois, and I guess there's probably a few Cub fans there, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm.
But we like to say our country's broader than that.
Oh yeah, all across the United States, across the world, as we found out in a day game.
We sure did.
Where you asked,
so much fun.
Wherever you were watching the game, tell us where you're watching from, and we heard from everybody, all over the place.
If you're from not from the U.S., tell me what country you're watching us in. Denmark, Japan. I mean, incredible the number of places. Australia.
Yep.
Where folks were tuning into Cardinals baseball, and it just kind of gives you an idea of the worldwide appeal of the game.
Austin Dean looks at ball 1. Justin Williams, you were asking about the exit velocity on his double. Pretty darn good.
Yeah, it was actually, thought it was upper 90s, but it was actually 108 off the bat. That's one you get out of the way of if you're a pitcher, by the way. If you have time.
I was going to say, that's a strike. 1 ball, 1 strike. Well, we saw Austin Dean a little bit last year during what was a 58-game season for the Cardinals. Did not have the final 2 against Detroit after they qualified for postseason play. And he was showing signs of providing some offense and then got hurt.
He can hit. I mean, that's what he can do. And you don't think of him as a plus outfielder, but you do think of him as a guy that's got a potent bat potentially.
Two balls and 1 strike on Austin Dean. And Dean lifts a high fly ball out to deep left field. It's at the track. Wall gone. Off the bench, Austin Dean with that potent bat. 2-run homer and cuts the lead to 5-4.
There's a couple of Cardinals in Williams and Dean that wanted to make their mark on this game late in spring training, and they both did so. A double by Williams and this big fly for Austin Dean.
Now it's Moroff. 5-4 our score with 2 outs here in the bottom of the 9th. Trying to extend the ball game. Max had an RBI base hit. He's 1 for 1. It was back in the 7th. And it's 2 balls and no strikes. 2-0 changeup taken low, 3-0.
That's my point about the Cardinals finding ways to get some offense late in games without the regulars in. Another example of it.
Well, the tying run now at first base, and the winning run will come to the plate. And look who's stepping in.
So you're saying we got a chance?
John Nogowski does have a home run this spring.
Now, you know, I love to say you want to walk or a bloop and a blast, right? I mean, you've heard that before. I mean, I think Al
hardly ever heard that from you.
Maybe Al's probably said that to you
I've heard it a few
over
times.
the years. But it's important to understand the order is important. You kind of want the bloop or the walk in front of the blast as opposed to the other way around.
You take a blast here, though.
Of course.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's over, but if we had kind of reverted those two things, see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you.
So just in case you weren't paying attention as we were instructing you about the bloop blast.
What makes you think I would be paying attention?
Theory? Well, it's just a nuance of it.
Okay.
Deep dive into the bloop and blast.
Anytime a Cardinal game is happening and you're behind the mic and they're trailing, you will hear bloop and a blast. John Nogowski with the tying run at first base. Winning run at the plate. 2 balls, no strikes. And the 2-0 drops in for a strike, 2-1.
Boy, that looked like a good pitch to hit there, an off-speed pitch. I think he was looking fastball, and so we let it go. But boy, that was up in the zone, and it didn't look like it had a lot on it either.
More off, good speed. He's at first base. The 2-1 to John Nogowski. Upstairs, 3-1. It's the kind of at bat we're talking about. He makes you work.
And the Cardinals are certainly making Backus work. Just trying to get an out, trying to end it.
Rondon on deck. 3-1 pitch. He walked him. And the tying run now in scoring position. Winning run at first base. And Rondon will be the batter. And Rondon has shown a little pop in his bat. 5 for 18. Has a home run this spring. He's driven in 7. And John Nogowski finds himself at first base with another walk. That's his 8th walk this spring. And that leads the club. His 10 runs batted in. That leads the club.
He was at first base until Perez came in to pinch run for him.
So runners at first and second. Cardinals trying to make it a little comeback here. And Rondon at the plate. Pitch in the dirt. Ball 1. I find Rondon, who you see pictured there on your screen, an awfully intriguing option for the Cardinals, whether it's out of spring or at some point this year.
doubt.
Does have big league time. Played winter ball in Venezuela. Had 7 home runs.
He needs to just stay ready, regardless of what happens a week from today.
2-0. And Backus can't find the plate.
Well, after the home run, he's almost pitching as if he doesn't want to find the plate. You start to pitch a little more defensively, start to pick a little, see a little frustration on his face.
Since the home run, 11 pitches, 10 balls. And the 2-0. That's off the plate, 3-0. Sosa at the on-deck circle. Turn him loose on 3-0. Let's see. Strike at the knees. Numbers this spring for Jose Rondon. Took over for Arenado at third base. The 3-1 pitch. Full count. Well, game on the line here, and the runner's off with this next pitch. 3-2, 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth. Ball in the gap, and the Cardinals could win this game.
Long single might happen. Long single down either line or in the gap. Perez has shown really good speed this spring. He's going to get a big jump. He's ready to go off to the races.
There they go, and the 3-2 is hit out to left. And it drops in. A run will score. Perez stops at third. Moroff scores the game-tying run. It's 5-5. Rondon lost his bat. It went all the way past the coaching box down at third. And Perez now at third base has a chance to win it. Wild pitch, pass ball. We're tied 5-5.
We've had plenty of ties this spring training, and the Cardinals would just as soon not have another one.
And here is Sosa. Ball one. Rondon will take second base.
Backus has been missing low in the strike zone. Beware the wild pitch here. If he overcooks one too much and you get the wrong hop, Cardinals win it.
The 1-0 pitch to Sosa. The 1-1 to Sosa.
That's the first time the Cardinals have chased in this inning. Backus is trying to get the Cardinals to chase. They're not doing it, but the swing pitch goes his way. I'm sure his confidence a little better with a 1-2 count.
Bottom of the ninth. Tie game. 1-2 pitch to Sosa. Boy, Backus is throwing that slider just about every pitch.
He is.
So Perez is the winning run down at third. And the 1-2 to Edmundo Sosa. Backs up. Take it inside. Boy, Backus was willing that to be a strike. Doesn't go his way. 2-2. Steps away. What's turning into a very long appearance for him. Pitch number 25 coming up.
Regardless, he won't have many more.
The 2-2 to Sosa. Puts it in play. Ground ball slowly hit. Cardinals will strand a pair, but they tie the game up in the ninth. And this day will end in a 5-5 tie. So the Cardinals avoid the loss. Don't pick up a win. They're now 7-7-5 this spring.
Fun to watch the Cardinals batting in the ninth inning, but more fun to watch Adam Wainwright pitching the first six. He was terrific.
We'll be back to wrap it up in just a moment. Cardinals come from behind in the bottom of the ninth, tied up 5-5. Back with more in a moment.